Welcome to the Scaleup Valley podcast, where we bring the best of the best to help you scale a business from 1 million to 1 trillion. Today's guest is a special one. We have been trying to connect for a long time now, and I'm super honored to have you on the show. His name is Marcelo Toledo, the founder and co-CEO at Klivo. Marcelo, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Very happy to be here.
Likewise, and it's a huge responsibility on my side because we have a very famous podcast, at least in Brazil, called Excepcionais, and it's great to follow. Also, with over 100 episodes recorded so far. So yeah, huge responsibility on my side to be a host of someone who is a great host of your own podcast. But for the ones who didn't have the chance yet to meet you and to know more about you, who is Marcelo?
I'm just entrepreneur, a person that is very creative, always thinking about solving problems and solving my problems internally as well. Sometimes I could be called a biohacker. Currently, I'm doing some experiments as well. Family guy, very introspective. Some people look at me and think I'm very a guy that likes to go outside and be with people all the time, but it's not the reality. I like to be in my house reading books with my wife, with my animals. I probably have over 30 animals in my house.
Wow.
So I like to be here with my family, enjoying a good meal, having a good time.
And I really enjoy your background. So it sounds that it has a lot of personality, which is rare to see. Is that your usual office or at home or?
Yeah, this is the office in my house. We have moved here October last year, I think, and I decided that I wanted to have a bit of a darker place with lads and stuff. I love books.
That's amazing.
So this is the chair that I like to read, and I have a very special routine for reading. I like to light up this essence. It's a very good smell. Right. And then I read, and then I have a television here. I put some music on, very light, no singing, and then I read for every day I read. So it's a very relaxing space as well, besides working.
So now we have an incentive for the ones who are listening on the podcast that are the majority to go to YouTube to also see what we are talking about in the office.
That's a good clickbait.
Exactly. I've never done this. The ones who have been following the episodes for 200 plus, see, I'm getting better at moving people from one channel to another. Amazing. That's great the way you introduce yourself and the way you present yourself, because that's true. Even myself, I'm also very introspective, and people when listening, especially for someone who have recorded 200 plus episodes and usually is on stage and so on, people think that we are super communicative and super open. And it has been trained, a huge effort, and now it sounds natural, but it took a lot.
Absolutely true.
A lot of going out of our comfort zone, and also facing those fears of rejection, fears of what others think, and working out on ourselves to get better and better and better, and also to be happy with what we see in the mirror, right? So
it's amazing how you can change your natural behavior. I talk a lot about your profile. You need to understand what exactly is that you do easily and what is it that you cannot do easily. This is something that first time that I went on stage to speak to a big crowd, I was extremely nervous. And nowadays it's very comfortable. About 3 years ago when I was at Nubank, I gave a speech for 10,000 people. And I thought, that's huge. I don't know if I'm going to be nervous. Usually I'm not. And it was even easier because when you're in a smaller crowd, you're very close to people, you need to engage more. And when you have 10,000 people, it's 10,000 people, So it's something that we can always work and get better at, even if it's your not natural profile,
Absolutely. I completely resonates with me as well. So let's start with the beginning. So we can see that you are very competitive. You work a lot on yourself. You like to always be growing, learning. And we know that in order to also start and scale a company, the company is only able to grow as much as we are able to grow. So it's great to have that kind of mindset. But it all started also with your own career as a professional athlete. So tell us a little bit more about yourself, your early days, and what has been your why to be so fond of entrepreneurship and so passionate about entrepreneurship.
I started very early in swimming. I think my mother put me on 2-3 years old, very early. My mom was very afraid of anything happening to me. And of course, she didn't want me to drown anytime. So she said, you have to go to swimming as soon as possible. And I remember that I was doing all sorts of sports when I was very young. And one day I asked my mother that I wanted to be just swim. I don't want to be playing soccer. I don't want to be playing volleyball, basketball. I just want to swim. And I was doing all of that, and I was doing judo, and I was doing all sorts of sports in this club. And then she said, all right, let's do it. And that's when I went to all the swimming clubs in São Paulo, got rejected, but all of them besides one. And this one was the entrance in the swimming competition for me. I was very late, so I had to be very disciplined to catch up with the other boys. But eventually, within a year, I was catching up with them, improving my technique. But of course, I had to be more disciplined than everyone else. I was late and I didn't know the basics. I was a swimmer, but I was not a competitive swimmer. So this sports reality in my life has shaped everything that I worked for until today, because every day that I swam, I used to have a notebook that I wrote my the workout of the day. And this is a routine of you thinking about what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. Mm-hmm. And usually you're trying to put out a number. I want to get this number at the pool. This is the time that I want to accomplish in this competition. This is the goal that I'm looking for. And this is how my mindset has been shaped. And this is how it became the same model of entrepreneurship for me. And I remember being very young and thinking about solutions of the world problems, very basic stuff, like going to the toilet and thinking why this toilet has been always like this, why everyone has the same toilet, why is it a paper, and very basic things like a kid mind. I was probably 7 years old, 6 years old, very young. And I started selling things at my apartment, geladinho, like we call in Brazil. You get a very small plastic and you put a juice in there and then you freeze it and then you sell it. And I use it to sell this kind of things in this condo. So this was an experiment and the start of entrepreneurship. And when I became a programmer, which I am, software engineer, I thought that it was very easy for me to create new products. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized that creating products is not entrepreneurship. Creating products is creating products. And then that's when everything started.
That's a great one. And I I can't resist to the temptation to go deeper there and ask you kind of a follow-up reflection on that. So the difference between creating a product and building a business, right? So what has been some of your lessons learned there?
I think most of the people, and me included on this, tend to fall in love with the solution and not the problem.
No problem. Exactly.
And I say, you have to fall in love with the problem, because the solution might not be the one that you're thinking. Mm-hmm. So if you fall in love with the problem, you will be able to start looking for many other solutions that are available. And this concept of MVP that everyone knows currently is pretty much trying different solutions for a problem that nobody has ever solved. And then in the beginning, I was trying to create a product from my mind with no clear problem. And then I saw that I was not being an entrepreneur. I was just being a programmer trying to create a new app or a new solution for something that nobody was going to use it. And this took several years of my life because I was trying to do all by myself, coding and everything, and it takes years for you to create something. And after you create something and then nobody uses, you start thinking, how do I launch a product? How do I make people buy my product? And that's when I became very obsessed with understanding the authors and the entrepreneurs and what was the best practices for you to create an actual company that solve a real problem and that people use your product and are happy with it. And then I started experimenting. I started writing everything that I was learning. That's when my blog came up. And then in 2013, I launched a book called Dono. And this book it's this one. You can barely see people that are not listening from YouTube.
Thank you, Marcelo.
So you can see the book. So this is a 350-page book. I wrote all by myself, and was the results of all my studies and experiments and all the learnings that I had from Alex Osterwalder, Eric Ries, and all the authors that were influencing back then. And this, of course, has shaped the way I'm doing startups nowadays.
Yeah, it is kind of an evolution, and if somebody goes to your LinkedIn, it's quite amazing that you definitely started your first role there. It's really a software engineer, and after that you tried your first company as founder and CTO. I'm just moving my face to another screen where I have your LinkedIn. Then you came back as senior software engineer consultant, then you moved to CTO, then you went to Rocket Internet and found your first company there, and then you became CTO again. Then you joined it after another 2 or 3 experiences, Nubank, and now you founded Klivo. So which shows kind of your trajectory, always trying to get closer to the business, right, from the software engineering role, which kind of mirrors exactly what you were saying. You have been learning how to go from building a product to building a business, and
I always had a plan B, Mike. I was working for people in the beginning. Of course, back then, when you were a very good engineer, we were rare pieces. I think we still are, but there are many more nowadays. But back then, it was very rare to have someone that could create a product from scratch. And I created many products for these companies from scratch, like Vax, like Maria Mercado, which was a full e-commerce. And then the Vax was a router with a firmware inside, only 8 megabytes, very difficult stuff to create. And And then I was always having a plan B because I wanted to have my own company. I wanted to build something for myself. So there is something that I do not show in my LinkedIn, which was the companies that I've been working for years that never went anywhere. I founded so many companies and I've invested so much money in things that went to trash. And this was the price for me to learn. It was a very expensive learn for me. So 22 years after all of these experiments, all this money invested, all this time invested, all this sacrifice that I made, staying at my house, programming while all my friends were outside going to parties and going to the movies and having fun on parks, I was not going to. I was there trying to create something. I loved it. It was not a huge of a sacrifice, but when you look backwards, you see that was a huge investment of time and money as well.
Exactly. And that's great that you share that, because nowadays people sometimes forget that it's still an outlier industry to really be able to start and scale a company in less than a decade, right? So the odds are completely against us. And if we look to the numbers, there is a set of stats that are not very reliable, but that shows how difficult it is. It was kind of only 4% gets to $1 million in revenue, only 4% of the businesses. Only 0.4% of those get to 10 million, which means 10%. And from 10 to 100, only under 0.04% get there. So this is all-time numbers. So which means that it's not only in a decade. So if you add the layer of a decade, those numbers would be even smaller. Again, I don't care if those numbers are completely reliable or not, but anyway, it shows how difficult it is to scale a business. And sometimes we think, okay, it's kind of 1 in 10 or 1 in 20, and I just have to have the luck of being one of those, and that's great. I think that's part of the advantage of being an entrepreneur, and especially at the beginning, having that beginner's mindset and that curiosity is really having that ignorance. I would tell the same about myself. If I knew what I know today, maybe I would never started Scaleup Valley, and it would never started the podcast. So it's a lot of work, as you said. So good that I didn't know, because then I started and things proved right, and we are continuously learning as always. So that's a great point that you are doing, also to showing that your current success is made from a lot of lessons learned. What some people would call failure, you call just another lesson, and you keep moving forward. And also understanding that success is temporary, and we always need to be paying the rent and keeping humble and having our heads down. And from time to time, we will face again adversity, and that's what makes the difference, is when we are able to surpass that adversity and stand up and step up again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I always like to think that when you have a long journey like this, you will have to invest time in learning and practicing. And this, of course, will bring a sensation in you that you're starting to get smarter. And I always like to get a little bit backwards. I think being too smart is not good. So I like to practice being ignorant. Being ignorant, it's not offensive. It's just, if you don't know a few things, you have more courage because you think it's easier than it actually is. So very often when I am in a meeting or talking to my partner, I say, we're getting too smart. Let's be a bit ignorant a bit. Because if you have too many numbers, if you have too many rules, you're going to be very bureaucratic. And you need to be with that essence of a kid that has no fear. that will go completely against all odds and nobody understand why. It's because a kid doesn't know. It doesn't know the complexity of what they are trying to achieve. So I think being ignored a little bit is important. And we need to practice this, being fearless and forgetting sometimes the numbers and all the KPIs and all the rules and all the frameworks and everything. Try to be just fearless. And of course, use your background, but just go forward. Use the numbers to help you understand, but not aggressively like we try to do all the time, you know? I think we need to have a balance here.
Yeah. Just reflecting a bit on your entrepreneurial journey. So as we were talking about your path, and there are a set of experiences that are not on your LinkedIn. So you have been several times CTO, you have even founded your own companies as a CEO as well. So you have been also part of let's say a app at Rocket Internet or a platform that would help also to create your own venture. Then you went to be part of a unicorn in Brazil, Nubank, very well known in the ecosystem and worldwide. So what have you learned of all those experiences that helped you to bring Klivo into the stage? That's what we will be talking after to get to know more about Klivo and to your purpose and dreams for the future. But what have helped you to be ready to found or to Klivo?
I think the most important thing is timing. And timing doesn't care about technique. It might influence a little bit, but doesn't care much, because I've seen great timing companies with horrible teams make great business. But timing, it's very difficult for you to get right on the spot. And Nubank is one of the examples that had a great timing. It's like all the stars aligned, everything was aligned to be perfect, because the banking industry in Brazil was like being a hostage. You couldn't go anywhere. That's all you got, and you will have to live with it. And Nubank came and positioned itself as a solution to free you over. And then we had, I'll explain you one thing that will show how lucky sometimes is very important. We didn't have much money back then. We raised $2 million to prove that we could make a credit card and transaction in every POS available in the country. And we did that. And then we raised $10 million. And part of this money was necessary for you to hire people, but also we had to use this money as credit, because every credit card that I give, I need to give you money. We didn't have endless money as Nubank has nowadays, and could grow as fast as possible without breaking a single bit. So we had to come up with a solution for breaking up growth, because the timing was so perfect that everybody was talking about us and everybody was wanting Nubank. So we decided to create a solution to break up growth. We need to slow down a little bit. Right. So we created the solution of member get member, which was with the number of invitations that I give to people is the number of credit that I am able to give. Everybody think that this solution was a growth solution, and it was exactly the opposite. It was a solution for slowing down. And then when you create the solution, what ends up having is a big queue of people that you can go to the investors and say, listen, I have 200,000 people here wanting the credit card, and I can't give them because I do not have enough credit.
Wow.
And when we past this phase, every single round that we made, we have a huge queue of people trying to use our products. And then, of course, having a product as a credit card is really good because you get money, you get revenue. But once we launched New Conta, that's when we could grow without slowing down, because the only investment that we needed was infrastructure. The product needed to be working, of course, and we need infrastructure to scale this up. So if you think about this story that I told you, the timing was perfect. Everybody was looking for a solution for an alternative for current banking solutions. It was probably the first mover or the most important. I mean, we were not the first mover. There was a better one, but there was a one, not a better one. There was a different one called Banco Original, but didn't make a marketing advertisement as we did. We wanted to free people from evil banks. That was the position that Nubank brought to the table, and people loved this. And everybody wanted to be the roxinho, the purple credit card, you know? So timing was perfect. If you create a new Nubank right now, you won't be able to do the same thing.
Exactly. And as you said, it was not a lot of money to do the milestones, but at least at the time, we always need to multiply by 5 to have the conversion in reais. And for the ecosystem at the time, there was huge rounds, right? So people would say, wow, so many resources to build that. But at the same time, when you're trying to do such a big vision happen, those resources are not unlimited. It seems for the ones who are still raising the pre-seed round or the angel round at this time. But of course, it depends on what are the plans and what are the vision and the milestones that we want to achieve. Amazing stories. So for the ones who are following the podcast from outside, 2 million would stand for $2 million for 10 million reais, and the 10 million.
No. Actually, we raised from Davi raised from Sequoia Capital and a few other VCs $2 million. And the second round that we did was $10 million.
Exactly. So which would be the 10 million reais and 50 million reais, more or less, in terms of conversion. Right?
Exactly. So this was hard in the beginning because it was not much money. It's a lot of things for you to do. But the most important point for me is that if you match the exact timing, it doesn't matter how many mistakes you're going to make. Things will flow, you know? And if you make a few mistakes in timing, it's going to be really hard. When we started Vax in the beginning, it was really hard. We almost broke because it was very innovative. We brought Wi-Fi to Brazil in a moment where mobile phones was not a reality. This was 2005. There was no cell phones with Wi-Fi. There was no computers with Wi-Fi. You had to have a small board to plug into your computer. But after we passed this complicated phase, the market changed entirely. Mm-hmm. And the company started growing so fast. We expanded to all of the countries in South America. We went to Canada. We went to Portugal. We went to Italy because of the timing. And if we broke the company before getting to the right timing, we would be dead. You know. Right. So timing is very important. Having a big problem to solve and timing is an obsession. We need to look forward. I think sometimes we get more obsessed with the solution and everything else. Timing is the most important thing.
And it has also the advantage, the story that you just told, to show to the Brazilian ecosystem and to the Latam ecosystem that it was possible to build a unicorn out of Brazil. And if magic would happen in terms of timing, the right problem to solve, the right team, et cetera, things would be possible for other generations of entrepreneurs to build big companies out of Latam and of Brazil, being the largest market in the region. Did you consider that your most successful venture until that time, or would you consider that some of your previous ventures have been successful as well?
In terms of impact, Vex was very impactful because it was a solution everybody was looking for. At the time, very technological, very complex, with a strong barrier for newcomers. And so it was very advanced technology with a solution that everybody was looking for. Pay11 was very impactful as well, but in a smaller range. If you take a look at, we had 100,000 POSs eventually. It's good, but it's not impacting millions of people, maybe who are buying some goods or services in these POSs. But I also, when I went, for example, for Oi, we had 70 million people transactioning every month in our solution. But of course, this is an incumbent. I was just an employee.
Right.
So, and when you go to Nubank, it was growing extremely fast, but yet it didn't reach 17 million users, but it will eventually reach. But it became a 45 unicorns. It was probably the fastest growing company in the history of Latin America. It was from 0 to 8 years, $45 billion IPO. So
wow.
It was fast. It was really fast.
8 years. So we were talking about those numbers. So it's part of the 0.04, under 0.04% of the ventures for sure. And if we apply that multiple to Latin America and Brazil at the time, that number would be even lower. So amazing outlier. So all of this created your passion and the purpose and the why to start Klivo. So what is Klivo and why?
So Klivo is a platform for managing chronic diseases. We do not believe digitally only solutions will fix the problem. So we created a solution that we call it's high tech and high touch. We have the platform, we have the app, we have monitoring devices to measure your health 24/7 all the time, and we can react very fast if needed. But we also have a very good team of people that increases, very importantly, the engagement. It's the difference of having a person to train with you. It's like a personal trainer. If you have a personal trainer, you will not say no very often. You will go there and you will work out. If you're really in pain, if you have huge problems, then you can say, today I cannot go. But almost all of the time, you will go. So having a personal trainer is really important in health. And that's the solution that we have for a huge problem. And the huge problem is 40% of the adult Brazilian population has at least one chronic condition. And this represents 80% of the costs in the entire private health. Public health is very similar. And if you go to other countries, such as United States, you're going to see that the costs of chronic diseases are trespassing 90%. Wow. So it's a gigantic problem. And besides oncology and cancer, that is something that we still cannot explain. Everything in medicine is statistics. Mm-hmm. We understand how food makes you ill, mm-hmm. gets you fat, right. gets you eventually diabetes or any malfunction in your metabolic metabolism. So when you take a look at this, what we are seeing is all of this industry is making easier for people to eat things that are not healthy for them. And they are not backing up a little bit. I don't have a perfect body of those people that can be lean all the time. Mm-hmm. If I eat a little bit more, I will get fat. And this is good because it's a signal that you're making something wrong. Those people that are ripped all the time and can eat McDonald's every day, I have a friend like this. This is actually bad because you're putting a lot of trash in your body and you're seeing that's working, then you keep going. But there are some people that do not have the resources, do not have the knowledge to come up with a solution for these problems. And Klivo is a solution for these problems. We can help you improve your health. We can help you with a better diet, more exercise, and people to start coming up with very different solutions and very specific for your reality. We understand that medicine has to be very focused on the person because mm-hmm. every person is very singular. And that's what we are trying to accomplish, to have a better life for everyone living with chronic condition.
In a certain way, what I'm listening from what you are saying is we need to focus on ensuring that people are having the healthy habits that allow them to become healthy instead of just getting the treatment or drugs that are conventionally addressed to in order to fix or to maintain or to manage those chronic conditions. And it's really about having that personal trainer that we're talking about. Control your sleep, control what you eat, exercise, of course, health style, the amount of stress that you have, even the people that you are spending your time with that are a huge impact on your own health, and being able to make this not only with a platform, a tech platform, but also with a team that will give the care to that person that is needed, like a PA. If it was just a robot that would be waiting for you at the gym, maybe you would not also have that, let's say, peer pressure and that personal empathy of saying something to someone who is trying to care for you, right?
Exactly. And the current solution, I mean, what we are seeing is it's becoming unsustainable because drugs are becoming very advanced and very intelligent and very effective. Mm-hmm. So if you become obese and it evolves to a diabetes type 2, which is behavior, mm-hmm. bad behavior, not eating well, not doing many exercises. There are drugs currently that can diminish the impact of diabetes. So it's like prolonging you to not be more disciplined and trying to focus on the root of the problem. The root of the problem is probably what you're putting inside your mouth. So you need to come up with a solution of eating better, doing more exercise. It's not very complex, but it's very hard to execute. Right. So having someone by your side telling you what to do and talking to you about your difficulties and adapting to getting better for you. So let's say I'm very fond of fasting. It works for me. It might not work for you. Fasting is probably one of the best technologies that we have, but people are very afraid of this. And if you talk to doctors, not many of them understand this, but there are many scientific studies that show that fasting is really good for yourself. It can revert obesity, it can revert almost all of metabolic diseases that we are talking about here. Mm-hmm. But it might not work for everyone. So having different approaches is important, because I can give you the solution A, and to another person the solution B, and to another person the solution C. And coming up with a platform that can scale this is right. What matters. Because the solution that we have nowadays doesn't scale, which is one-to-one. You go to a doctor and you're there, and you cannot scale this. But when you have a platform such as Klivo, we can create lines of treatments. And these lines of treatments are mixed with high touch and high tech. So you will receive everything automatically. You will see that you will have contents coming your way automatically. You will have invitations to talk to a dietitian automatically, just because we have included you in a line of treatment that has everything automated. And in between, you will talk to a real person, and this will bring you a lot of joy and energy to keep going.
I love that kind of approach, so much more the root cause approach of functional medicine or integrative medicine. Definitely trying to understand what is being the root cause that is creating that stress or that chronic condition on that person. And we are seeing also a lot of cases where emotions, trauma, not only physical conditions and of course, everything is related with behaviors, as you were talking about. But what I'm trying to make the point is what you were saying. There are common patterns across certain segments. So we can create protocols for specific segments, but we really need to have kind of a model that we are able to address all those segments and have a line of treatment that shows that we have the best results with that specific segment, and that's the kind of the treatment that we will apply. And that's where technology, AI, and so all those things can make a huge difference. And by the way, help also the healthcare professionals or the physicians to do a better work and to make a difference where they are the most valuable at, right?
Mike, one thing that changed internet completely was the ability to do A/B tests. Mm-hmm. When you have the ability to do A/B tests, it's really important because you start understanding what actually make a difference. Why this color converts more, why a bigger button converts more. And we do not have this in health. With Klivo, we do have this, because let's imagine that I have a line of treatment for people with obesity and diabetes, hypertension, and high cholesterol as well, which is very common to have all these four conditions. And let's say I will start splitting group in two line of treatments. To one group, I will have certain characteristics, and the other one, different characteristics. And I will start measuring this in real time. And within 4 weeks, which is the timeline of this line of treatment, I will have the engagement rate. I will have all the data of monitoring the health of everyone. And with this, I will understand if I put more people, if I put more meetings with a dietitian, nutritionist, will it help? Does it improve or not? And with this tool available for you, we can do the same impact we did with the internet, growing startups to health. That's what I love the most about Klivo platform. It can actually be a scientific toolkit for you to test approaches that are all possible, because it's limitless. Your creativity is limitless in this platform.
And almost in real time, and not going through the old school research that will take 2 years and specific awards and waiting and needing to write a paper and then needing to present it to a seminar, then to be applied by the first early adopters until it becomes mainstream, and then a decade has passed, and a lot of people are not getting value out of those conclusions. That's exactly a very interesting point.
We're talking about behavior. If you have more engagement, it will improve your health. That's a rule. The more engaged you are, the better your health will be, and the cheaper the health system will cost. Mm-hmm. That's the three-step approach that we believe. More engagement leads to a better health. That leads to a cheaper cost of health insurance plans.
The flywheel. Definitely.
Exactly.
How to accelerate that flywheel is now the $1 million question that we need to solve in order to keep scaling Klivo, to be able to impact more people as you move forward. So at this moment, you are, just for the ones who are listening, in terms of stage of growth, you have raised an A round. So how many people do you have? So kind of just some stats for people to understand where you are at the moment.
So right now, we have two sides of the business, the B2C and the B2B. Mm-hmm. The B2B, we talk to pharmaceuticals and we talk to health insurance plans. It's the same product. It's the same solution for different necessities. The health insurance plans are looking to diminish costs. Costs are rising all the time because people are getting sicker, and they have to find a solution to improve this. So Klivo is a solution for this. When you're talking about the pharmaceuticals company, most of the people, to improve their health, need to start using medicine. Mm-hmm. And it's crazy the number of people that stop using their medicine because they feel better. And they forget that they got better because of the medicine. Medicine is extremely important in the transition of becoming healthier. It's like a moment of, I will try to hold you up here until you develop new habits and you will get better, right? So
love it.
At this specific solution, we have about 10,000 members currently in the B2B side. And it's interesting, this part, because people get engaged and disengage. When you are discompensated, when everything in your indicators show that you're sick, that's the moment you need to be treated. So we have a solution that is active member. So when you are engaged and you really need the treatment, we treat you. And then you go down and another person comes up. So we sell active users. And these active users can be engaged for 4 months, 5 months, sometimes 6 months. It depends on how critical your health is. And this is the B2B side. And we also have the B2C side, where we understood that health cannot be 100% scalable. The bigger part of health is hospitals and labs. And we wanted to be part of this as well. So we have clinics. We started with one, then 2, and now we're going to our 4th clinic. And we also had probably we're going to reach 4,000 people that already been into our clinics. Most of these people are chronic patients and with a focus on oncology. Oncology is a bit different because it's not always about behavior. It can be, but it's not a rule.
Good point.
So these are the two sides of our business. And we have we're probably reaching 100 people, I would say. We're part home office, part in the office. Some people stay 100% in the clinics. Some people stay monitoring patients all the time. So these are the team that we have, part tech and part health team.
Got it. Those are the 4 clinics are in-person clinics, but the team works in an hybrid environment in a certain way.
Exactly.
Got it. Sounds amazing, and it's incredible how time flies. We need to do a full episode on your lessons learned in healthtech, especially now that people are saying that if healthtech is the new fintech, and about after revolutionizing kind of the fintech sector with Nubank, now hopefully Klivo is the one who is coming next to become the healthtech unicorn, or the first healthtech unicorn in Brazil. We are still trying to make that happen in Brazil, and I would say in Latam, right? Not all in Brazil, and I don't know any other healthtech unicorn in the region.
I think we do have one in Brazil. Okay. It's called Alice. They're probably a unicorn.
Okay, didn't know that.
They're probably, because they haven't.
I know this, but I didn't know. Okay, got it.
But the amount of money they have raised probably placed them as a unicorn. But it's a very hard problem they are trying to tackle. Like I said, health insurance plans are very complicated to generate profit because of the amount of use people make and the efficiency of the system, which is not great. So they are trying to come up with this solution that is fighting against something that is always going up and getting worse.
Right. Love, great reflection, and a great point here. Also to understand that we already might have an healthtech unicorn. Thanks for that, Marcel. And so I would like to go to a quick question answer format now. That typically we go through our guests. I know that our time is limited, but let's try to do our best. Today was much more to get your story, your lessons learned, your career, your way of thinking, and more than happy to go for a round 2 in a couple of weeks or months and cover more of Klivo, because I found that some of your insights about healthtech are super amazing. And as you know, I have a strong why there. I have an autoimmune condition that was diagnosed last year, so I'm super obsessed about getting to know more about health and researching, etc. So would love to have that conversation ahead of time. But let's go into those quick questions and answers. And if you'd have the opportunity to have a coffee with the younger Marcel at the beginning, let's say at the beginning of Klivo, because of course you have been through a lot of stages on your career, what advice would you offer to your younger self?
I would say that the problems that you're seeing will probably not be that big as you're thinking. Try to take advantage of your time right now. If you're being invited to a cool event, go to this event, because you think you do not have time today, but you do have. You will see that with time, you will have less friends and less cool moments like this. So enjoy as much as possible. Don't care much about the problems that you're seeing right now. They are not that big, and everything will be all right.
Great point. What are you the most proud of on your journey so far? If you look at your career that we have been dissecting during this podcast, what would be those moments or those skills or that you have developed that make you super proud of yourself?
Mike, I like my self-awareness development has been probably the most impactful in my life because I did not have this. I did not have this. And I was actually very, very bad at this. And when I met Renata, my wife, she was very into it and I couldn't care less. But then I started understanding how it actually was. And I did my first course. So investing time in self-awareness is probably the most important thing everyone should do for self-development. You're not seeing things right now. You might think you know yourself, but you do not. If you do not do the right things, you will never know. And you will be doing things that you were programmed to do, not because you want to. And once you get aware of this, it's okay if you want to continue to do, but by your will, not because you were programmed by this. And this has shaped my entire life. I became a much more calm person. And my profile, I'm an easier person to work with. I was not in the beginning of my career. I was very aggressive. I was very all in all the time. And this was not easy for a few people that worked with me. Some people loved me. Some people hated me. I said sorry to the people that hated me. We're friends nowadays. It's just because I didn't know a single bit about self-awareness. So this is something that I am very proud of being in work because I still have a lot of things to work on.
Definitely. Lifelong learning. Amazing. Worst advice ever received?
From people that never did what I wanted to do. These are the worst advice. When you start appearing in the media, when you have social media, a lot of people will come and give you advice, and you have to know how to filter them because you have to be confident enough to understand what's good for you and what's not. And some people will throw you down. These advice will throw you down because you will feel that you're doing everything wrong, that you are in the wrong route. And these people just think differently.
Yeah.
So you need to be positive all the time because in a moment of when you are being an entrepreneur, you're going to be up and down all the time. So get these feedbacks of people in the trash, take advantage of the good one and from people that love you and that want your best, but have done what you're trying to accomplish.
Definitely. Great advice there. And let's go quickly into the resources. Any favorite book that you'd like to highlight that has been important for you?
Manual of Naval Ravikant. Probably one of the best books that I read. Real important. So many messages. It's the philosopher of our time. It's a person that has lived what we are living and has great thoughts on many issues of your life. This is one of the books that I like. And I also like to recur to spirituality. Mm-hmm. And for this, I like Paramahansa Yogananda, which is a Hindu master that he's my master, died, of course, but has influenced a lot my life as well.
Amazing. Favorite movie or series, as you wish?
or businesses. I loved We Crashed, and I loved that from HBO called Succession.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Very good series. Loved this one. Loved.
And finally, your favorite podcasts.
Oh, Excepcionais. Exceptional. This is something that I've started, Mike. And I said one moment in my life, I will not accept anything that I will not invest less than 10 years. So everything that comes to me as an opportunity, if I cannot devote 10 years of my life, I will not do. Exactly because what you said in the beginning, it's really hard for you to create something meaningful with less than 10 years. So Excepcionais is my podcast. It's in Portuguese, but it's something that I've committed to myself that I will do for 10 years. So it's a huge investment in time for me, because I really believe that this can impact a bunch of people and myself, of course.
Love it. I made the same promise to Scaleup Valley. It will be 10 years next January. And the podcast since 2018. So this is the 5th year, still another at least 4 or 5 to go to commit to the 10 years that you were talking about.
Wow, congrats.
Thank you, Marcelo, and likewise. And any final thoughts before we go? Anything that I should have asked you? Of course, we'll have a round 2. But anything that you'd like to share with the audience that I didn't allow you the opportunity for before?
I think you need to understand that athletes prepare themselves for a competition. And we as business developers, entrepreneurs, we also need preparation. Our body, our mind is our most important tool in this process. We need to take care of them. And eating unhealthy, not doing exercises, you might not perceive now, but I challenge you, if you do 1 month of a really good diet, you will see how this will improve your life. If you're young, if you're 30 years old, 20-something years old, you might not feel it because your body's still young. But when you're after 40, 45, 50, 60, if you do a really good diet, you will see that your perception of this feeling of feeling great with energy the entire day will come back. And we can revert a lot of things in our body. Like I said, fasting is a great technology. So find a really good doctor, find a really good nutritionist to help you. And you will start perceiving that you can come back 10 years by just changing a few things in your life. Eating is not that important. I love eating. I love junk food, but you need to have limits. You cannot treat yourself with so much care. You need to be tough on yourself, being a lot of having a lot of good stuff with nutrition, with the nutrients and exercise can change your life and can change your company. Because the way you invest time in your company is because of the amount of energy you have. And if you have low energy, if you're using drugs that put you up, this will not last long. And this will not end up well. We have seen many times people that didn't take care of their life. Well, I've seen Elvis Presley movie recently. He was ahead of his time, but so many decades. And he was a genius, but a genius that couldn't do a balance. Balance is important.
amazing way of closing the show. Just a quick thank you also to Andressa, your partner, for introducing ourselves and for making this possible. And of course, to you for making the time. It has been an extreme pleasure to have you on the show, and you are always invited to come back.
Mike, thank you very much. Thank you very much for talking to me and exploring a bit of my life and a bit of Klivo, which is the most important thing I'm doing in my life currently. And Andressa, like you mentioned, is a great partner. I couldn't have a better partner than he is. And this is some advice to people. Invest time in finding good partners. When you have a good partner, changes everything. Because I've had a worse partner in the past, and it's really hard. If you have a good one, your life is going to be much easier, and you will be able to grow together. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Marcel. And to our community, as you see, we keep bringing you the best of the best and trying to dissect the best insights to make your life a little bit easier in this roller coaster that is to start up and scale up a company. See you soon and keep scaling.